Jesus, there is a weight so many people carry silently, checking their balance late at night, doing math in their head before they fall asleep, feeling the quiet shame of owing more than they can pay. Jesus knew this weight intimately, not as an abstract concept, but as something he addressed directly, by name. In the very prayer he taught his disciples to pray every single day. What was translated as a polite request for forgiveness was originally something far more specific, far more powerful, a word spoken directly over debt itself. Tonight, that word is being given back to you. And once you hear what Jesus actually said, the weight you've been carrying will never feel quite as permanent again. For centuries, believers have prayed the words, "Forgive us our trespasses," or "Forgive us our sins," softened translations that carried real spiritual truth, but quietly obscured something far more specific. Jesus originally said, this gentle phrasing, filtered first through Greek and then through English, transformed a direct, almost financial declaration into something more abstract and easier to spiritualize away from daily life. In the Aramaic Peshitta, the word Jesus actually used in that line of the Lord's Prayer was Khoba, a word that meant, quite literally, debt. Not sin in some distant theological sense, but debt in the same practical way you understand an unpaid bill or a growing balance. When Jesus taught his followers to pray "Forgive us, Khoba," he was teaching them to bring their actual, tangible sense of owing, whether moral, spiritual, or financial, directly before God, using the exact word for the exact weight they carried. This distinction matters enormously, because Khoba in Aramaic culture carried a dual weight most modern readers miss entirely. It described both the debt owed to God through sin and the very real, very human experience of financial debt, the anxious feeling of owing more than you currently have. Jesus did not separate these two realities into different categories, requiring different prayers. He gave his followers one word, spoken over both burdens at once, trusting that the same release that canceled spiritual debt could also speak directly over financial lack. This is precisely why so many people today pray for forgiveness in one sentence and worry over their bills in another, never realizing Jesus offered a single word meant to address both. In the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 6, immediately following this line, Jesus teaches that if we release others from what they owe us, the same release becomes available to us. Today, we are going to recover exactly what Khoba meant, and how speaking it can begin to loosen the grip of debt, financial and spiritual, that has felt permanent for far too long. Before we continue, I want you to know that shortly, in just a few minutes, I am going to guide you through a short prayer using this very word, a moment where you and I will speak Khoba together, directly over whatever debt, financial or otherwise, you are currently carrying. But first, there is something essential you need to understand about why this word carries the weight it does. Jesus did not teach his disciples to pray in Greek. He taught them in Aramaic, a language where the earliest hearers understood that words were never neutral requests floated hopefully into the air. Words carried intention, energy, and vibration, released into the spiritual and physical world the moment they were spoken. This is why Jesus so often taught, in short, weighted phrases rather than long explanations. He trusted the precise word, spoken with the right intention, to carry force far beyond its literal translation. When Jesus taught his followers to pray Khoba, he was not offering a vague spiritual sentiment. He was teaching a specific, repeatable declaration, one that named the actual weight being carried. Whether shame over a poor financial decision, the anxious math of an unpaid balance, or the quiet guilt of falling short, pronunciation and intention were never separate from the prayer itself. Naming the debt precisely, in the word Jesus himself used, was part of what released it. This ancient understanding that the specific words Jesus spoke carried force far beyond their surface, meaning, is exactly what we explore more deeply inside the Aramaic Wisdom Guide, where each original word is unpacked, not only for what it means, but for the intention and authority Jesus himself carried when he taught his followers to speak it over their heaviest burdens. If today's revelation has stirred something in your heart, don't let your journey end here. Our Aramaic Wisdom Guide was created to help you rediscover the original wisdom behind the words of Jesus. True knowledge sets us free. You'll find the link waiting for you in the comments, or simply scan the QR code on your screen to access it instantly, and the best is yet to come in the next chapters. You'll discover what could change everything for you. Khoba, my God, I bring before you tonight the weight I have carried in silence, the debts on paper, and the debts I feel in my spirit, the sense that I owe more than I can ever repay. I release what I owe into your hands, and I release what others owe me as well, trusting that the same forgiveness flows both ways. Cancel this, Khoba, Lord, not because I have earned release, but because you taught me to ask. Let me walk lighter tonight than I have in a very long time. Amen. This prayer was never meant to be spoken only once. What I want to give you now is the practice that carries it forward, a focused 21-day rhythm. Because Khoba is released instantly in the spirit, but the mind, especially one trained for years to carry shame around money or unresolved guilt, needs consistent repetition to actually believe what has already been granted. Each morning across these 21 days, before you check a single balance or replay a single old resentment, speak Khoba 3 times aloud, slowly, deliberately, naming the specific weight you are releasing that day, financial, relational, or a guilt carried quietly for years. Throughout each day, whenever guilt or worry pause and speak Khoba once, quietly, pairing it with a simple physical action, opening a closed fist, palm upward, releasing rather than gripping. Each evening, before sleep, speak Khoba 1 final time, releasing not only what you owe, but consciously releasing anyone still holding a debt against you. There is a story Jesus told, recorded in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 18, about a servant who owed his master an impossible sum, a debt so large it could never realistically be repaid in a lifetime. When the servant begged for mercy, the master did not extend the payment timeline. He canceled the debt entirely. Khoba, gone, released in full, before the servant had done anything to earn it beyond honestly admitting he could not pay. This is precisely the posture you are stepping into over these 21 days. Not a slow, anxious repayment plan negotiated through guilt, but honest admission, followed by a release only God's mercy can accomplish. There is a difficult turn in that same parable worth sitting with honestly. The servant who had just received complete release from his own impossible debt turned around and refused to extend the same mercy to someone who owed him a far smaller amount. Jesus told this story specifically to reveal what happens when Khoba is received but not released outward. The forgiveness we have been given quietly withers when we refuse to let others go free from what they owe us. This matters enormously for anyone carrying not only their own debt, but resentment toward someone who owes them something money never repaid, an apology never given, a wrong never made right. Khoba was never meant to flow in only one direction. Jesus taught his followers to pray, "Forgive us our Khoba, as we forgive those who owe Khoba to us." A single breath connecting the release we receive to the release we are willing to give. Consider how much unnecessary weight might lift if you released both debts during these 21 days. Not only the financial or spiritual burden pressing on you, but the quiet resentment toward whoever still owes you something they may never repay. Jesus did not ask this because forgiveness makes the original wrong acceptable. He asked it because carrying both debts, the one owed and the one doubles the weight. A single prayer was always meant to lift. This is exactly why the 21-day practice you began in the last chapter includes both directions every single day, releasing what you owe and releasing what is owed to you. Skipping one side leaves the rhythm incomplete. The way the unforgiving servant's own release meant nothing once he refused to extend it. Tonight, as you continue this practice, let both hands open, the one receiving and the one letting go. Perhaps you're wondering why these original teachings remained hidden for so long. That's why we created the Aramaic Wisdom Guide, because true knowledge sets us free. The link is waiting for you in the comments, or you can simply scan the QR code on your screen to access it right now. There is a detail often overlooked in the story of that forgiven servant. The master did not require him to prove his transformation over months or years before extending mercy. The release was immediate. But what came afterward, the daily choice to walk free of both debt and resentment, required a different kind of discipline entirely. not to earn what was already given, but to keep walking in it rather than slipping back into old patterns of guilt and grasping. This is exactly why the practice you are now carrying across 21 days matters so deeply. Release happens instantly in the spirit, but a mind trained for years to carry financial shame or unspoken guilt does not simply stop arguing with that truth overnight. Each day you return to Khoba, morning, moment, and evening. You are not repeating something that failed to work the first time. You are teaching your mind to finally agree with what your spirit already received on day one. Notice how Jesus never treated debt, financial or spiritual, as something to be endlessly onse released. It was released, yet he also understood human nature well enough to know that old anxious patterns return quickly if left unaddressed, which is exactly why this rhythm is not a single prayer, but a practiced return, spoken consistently until the weight you have carried 4 years finally stops feeling like your permanent identity. There is also a quiet discipline hidden in this account worth naming honestly. The servant who refused to forgive his own debtor had already received everything he needed to walk free, yet he chose old patterns instead. Khoba does not force release upon you. It offers it, and the daily practice you are now living out is simply the consistent choice to walk in what has already been given, rather than returning again and again to the weight Jesus already lifted. What makes this different from simply trying to think more positively about money or guilt is, again, the source. Khoba does not ask you to convince yourself the debt was never real. It asks you to receive an actual release, spoken by Jesus himself, and to keep practicing that freedom daily until your mind finally catches up to what your spirit already knows is true. Somewhere between the debt you have quietly carried and the freedom Jesus demonstrated in that parable, there is a bridge, and you are already standing on it, one day at a time, through the 21-day practice you began tonight. This is not a spiritual bypass or a quick fix borrowed from modern manifestation teachings. It is an ancient rhythm, rooted in the very prayer Jesus taught his disciples to pray daily. Consider how instinctively you narrate debt and guilt into your identity without noticing. I'll always be behind. I don't deserve to be free of this. These are not neutral observations. They are declarations, quietly reinforcing the very weight they describe. Khoba, spoken consistently across these 21 days, was given as the counter-declaration, strong enough to interrupt years of that narrative and replace it with the freedom Jesus already secured. This is why the practice matters more than a single emotional breakthrough tonight. One powerful prayer can move you deeply in this moment, but it is the return, the willingness to speak Khoba again tomorrow, and every day across these 21 days, which slowly retrains a mind long accustomed to carrying weight that was never meant to be permanent. Every day you choose release over resentment, you are practicing the very freedom Jesus already gave you. What began tonight as a single word spoken over a single burden is meant to carry you all the way through day 21. Spoken each morning before guilt or financial worry has the chance to speak first, until Khoba is no longer something you remember to pray, but something your spirit simply trusts is already finished. What you have received tonight was never meant to end the moment this video does. You have already been given the prayer and the 21-day rhythm that carries it now. What remains is simply the discipline of staying with it, day after day, even on the days it feels repetitive, even on the days nothing seems to have changed yet. This is where so many people quietly stop too soon. They speak Khoba once, feel a moment of relief, and assume the work is finished. But Jesus never modeled release as a single event, followed by silence. He modeled a servant whose freedom was real the instant it was spoken, yet whose daily life afterwards still required the discipline of walking in that freedom rather than slipping back into old debt-shaped thinking. Your 21 days matter for exactly this reason. If you miss a day, do not abandon the rhythm. Simply return to it the next morning. The same way Khoba itself is always available, the moment you reach for it again. This is not a practice that punishes imperfection. It is a practice that rewards return. Each time you come back to it, morning, moment, and evening, you are reinforcing to your own mind that this release was never temporary, never conditional on getting every day exactly right. By the end of these 21 days, do not expect a single dramatic sign that it worked. Expect something quieter and more lasting, a mind that no longer instinctively reaches for shame the moment a bill arrives, a heart that releases what others owe more easily than it once did. Jesus did not offer Khoba as a miracle reserved for one servant in one parable 2,000 years ago. He offered it as a daily, repeatable word available to you right now, in whatever debt currently sits heaviest on your chest. Stay with the 21 days. Let your spirit finish what it has already begun. Before you go, if this message touched your heart or brought new understanding into your life, write the word Khoba in the comments below. Your testimony may encourage someone else who is seeking healing and renewal. And remember, the Aramaic Wisdom Guide is always waiting for you, so you can keep rediscovering the original words of Jesus. You'll find it in the comments, or by scanning the QR code on your screen. If this revelation blessed you, please subscribe, like this video, and share it with someone who needs to hear it too. Your support helps this ancient wisdom reach more hearts. Thank you for sharing this moment of ancient wisdom with us. Until the next revelation, walk in peace, walk in freedom, and walk in the power of Khoba. Be open.